Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. I hope everyone's having a good day. Going to go into the community messages and some of the private messages, which are very interesting. One of them did catch my eye, but we'll discuss that later. Caroline says, thanks, Marvin Ali. Great points of discussion again. Thank you very much, Caroline, for your support. You've been with me a while now. Michelle says, I follow Topical Juice. He's a really decent chap. Yeah, he is. He's been through a lot as well. He's a good guy. I respect him. I remember him covering the Potter paper, but not the Tom Hilton live. Maybe just reach out to TJ directly. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Rachel, how you doing? Hi, Marvin. Listening to Lucy's interview. Now you have to ask what exactly was the purpose. She is not pleading for any information, giving a description of Jay, even holding one of the posters. She's complaining about the Gazas field, talking about Jay having no food or water. He's not a stupid boy. It's a busy area, so why has no one seen him? She hasn't slept, etc. None of this is useful to the church, none whatsoever. Yeah, that's why I said, Rachel, I think it's been scripted. And then to the interview with her back to the camera is a major red flag. I wonder how she explained this to the reporter. I think they thought Jay would be found quickly, but when he wasn't, they were forced out, and Lucy gave an interview. Yeah, definitely. But I think with the reporters, I do think a lot of them are gullible and just believe a lot of them what people say. Even MWT got carried away with it. Master Smith says, yes, I thought IMO just says that got a marker on me. Could it be Mark's got me, as there was M in Jay's phone and there is any of one named Mark? This case, and I don't mean MWT either, IMO. Well, like I said, there was a Mark who was mentioned who apparently was working director or manager for the NRG festival, who used to go out with Lucy. That's an interesting theory. Thanks, Mazda. Hi, guys. Hi, Annette. Hope you're well, sweetheart. Thank you for your support. Yeah, Richard says, do you do all cases of crime? Amy Fitzpatrick, Luke Dublin, Lee Boxall, Claudia Lawrence, Amy Bradley, Georgina, Robert Duff, and Jack O'Sullivan. They're all missing and never been found. Yeah, I've done Amy Fitzpatrick. There are, if you put basically those names into my search engine, Amy Bradley, which I've done one recently. I haven't done one on Georgina Gazella, or have I? Robert Duff, I have done a few on Jack O'Sullivan, as people know. Yeah, Richard, these cases out there, but like I said, I will look into them as much as I can. Let me just take a photo. Yeah, we cover, and we've got Streamline Investigations as well. That's my second channel with Ali Harris. Lindsay says, I also believe she's alive. She can't, and May doesn't want to be contacted by her family, and she also could have kids or be confined and not allowed to contact anyone. I think she has been sold off by Yellow. Yeah, I think so, Lindsay. I think he was in the handover, considering that someone saw her on a beach in Caraco and with a guy like Yellow. So obviously, I think he was definitely in on it from day one. But like I said, nobody was really arrested for it, and it was a long time ago as well. But let's just hope that the family do get some kind of contact that she's still alive, even if she doesn't want to get in contact back with her family. I remember it as well. I actually only see it months on TikTok and couldn't believe how he reacted. It might still be there somewhere. It was mad, his reaction. He actually went live recently and blocked me. I asked him, did he know who Brandon Hodgson was? And when he asked where his batter was from, I commented Tenerife. Sorry, a battler was from. I commented Tenerife in the comments, and he blocked me in a little tiny dorm room, gaming on a live, pretending to be off work. Apparently, he is in rehab in Scotland. He looked dead anxious, paranoid, shifty. Might be the withdrawals of paranoia from what has been uncovered in the case. I believe it was him as well. The name Lee Tabera has been mentioned more and more. Apparently, he has the means and the money to pull off a perfect crime like this. I don't know. Did someone see that Lee, later mother, was a Hilton as well? Yeah, I do think Duncan looked into that and sort of connected that connection. I think it's Tom in the back of the car as well. Yeah, it didn't half look like him in the first photo. That was supposedly Jay with sunglasses and the same sort of hairstyle. Jay was kidnapped and brought somewhere where he was waiting. I have a feeling that the whole Airbnb was a diversion carefully planned. Yeah, it had to be. It had to be for them to get the accident plan in place. Red Source says there is a call log, even if encrypted. It just cleared minds. So why did the forensic tracing not get that? Well, if the police are looking in for it, that's Red Source. That's the first thing you would actually say. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Marvin. Hi, Annette. Hope you're well, sweetheart. Thank you for your support. I really feel for Jack's family. The police have done a very little for this case. I think he was picked up in a car by someone he knew. Not sure if that person at the party, someone else related to his education somehow. I don't think for one moment he fell into the water. I don't either. I think he sort of semi-knew the person he was with. But like I said, we don't know the person who picked him up was about, but I think he definitely got in a car. That's my viewpoint anyway. Thank you, Clousy, for keeping this case out there as well and commenting on it. Jack O'Sullivan missing people. Thank you, Annette, for your support as well. Miss Mark says disappearing messages are from Facebook Messenger. The platform lets you know at the top of the message will disappear after 24 hours. Then they vanish. I can imagine Debbie to have a messenger. If this is the case, there would have been a name on the message. Thank you, Miss Marp. That's a really good point. ATG is brilliant. Yes, definitely. Yes, I remember this. Tell the truth. The whole thing is a cover-up. The wildlife would have found Jay's body before anyone and would have eaten half of it. Utter BS from all. Sadly, including Debbie, IMO, only Warren and Zach don't know the full truth. Debbie just don't want people thinking bad of Jay. Sorry, love, to be late now. Get justice for your son. Yeah. Too late now. Get justice for your son. She still can, but like I said, I just don't think she's got the mentality to actually do this, to be honest with you. This is what I think. Thank you, Tell the Truth. The black and white picture of Jay that you see for this, when you look at the main menu for videos, looks a bit odd. It looks like someone has drawn on two black eyes. Yeah, it's mad. So a lot of these pictures, Pinky Pump, were manipulated to tell us a story. We know that what Ayup's about. We know that he likes to put out rap lyrics, which are not very, very nice. And pictures, I think he's got friends in high places. This is what I think personally as well. Thank you very much. PGM says Streamline Entertainment. It annoys me when people refer to it as Jay stole a watch when it says on one video just took a 12 grand rollie with a Marley kid. And in the other video, it says me and two Marley kids took an AP. So if the watch story was true, it wasn't just Jay who took the watch, it was Ayub Rocky too. I thought it maybe somebody might have said, Ayub and Rocky, have you seen what Jay's been saying that you both stole a watch? ? And they have kicked off on him for sending a message telling everyone they were involved. That's a really, really good point. I've never really thought of it that way, to be honest with you. John Smith, he wasn't that stupid. As he said, he had a marker on him, then vanished and was found dead. No, John Smith, I don't think he was. I think Jay was smarter than them all. But the problem with Jay, I think he liked to get involved in people's business and to help them out. And sometimes he didn't realise how ruthless these gangs was. Thank you, John. Izzy Stevenson. Hi, Marvin. Why did Lucy say that Jay had no phone when he supposedly sent messages? This is so... I know. I totally agree with you. It's really bizarre. Ruth Molly meaning no work phone. As battery died. That's a good point, Ruth. Thank you. John Smith had no phone to say his battery had died. It's completely different. So well done. Even I never heard that before. I read your comment. That's a really good point. Ruth says, guess it depends where you come from. I'd say if got no phone, if it was dead. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, John, Ruth. It just doesn't make sense at all. It really, really doesn't. And like I said, I do think if there was a sort of a UK investigation, if the family did want to pursue it later on, I just think they'd have a lot of grounds to actually go on. Debbie's number was on the first missing poster Lucy made. Thank you, PGM. Don't footage Debbie withdraw 36,000 of the going for million on 24th June 2004 for travel expenses and food, etc. I tell you what, Pauline, that's a hell of a lot of money to draw at one time. Really, really bizarre indeed. I think that is all the up to. We got a few more. Does anyone on here know if Duncan's channel has been suspended or taken down? No, he's back. Duncan Smith 2. That is. Thank you very much, Audrey. I think the first. I think the first was released as Brad. Was to release Brad, in my opinion. Yeah, I do. Or I think it was probably a threat at first that we've got them both, because like I said, a lot of people think that Rachel was out there before. I do think Brad was taken. I do think he was beaten, and I do think that money was exchanged for him to be released. John Smith, who had his phone, obviously they won't pick up a known, as it could have been anyone. Yeah, and also could it be one of those phones people use and then throw it away? And if they did pick up, whoever rang would have known it isn't Jay who had his phone. If someone is in need of help, they wouldn't care who's ringing. They would answer. Simple as that. Thank you, John. Brilliant point. Straight to the point. I like it. Bulldog Dunks. Hi, Duncan. I think this is key, John. Only a select few people were getting through to Jay. I bet a load of the rest of those 70 calls were unanswered too. That's a very good point. Bulldog, also, where was all the 70 calls in the call log? Good point. DDD also, she lied about the day she went to Tenerife. Also about going with Brad's mum when she went the day before, and that's been confirmed. So why is she lying? That's a very good point. I just think, John, she's been told to say things at the end of that running line with the people who are covering this case up. That's what it boils down to, friends. She's gone along with it, and this is why she's not really listened to anything we say. Richard said, "In it weird that Down the Rapids went to the last location of Jay's phone and he didn't see anything, but they said he was found near there." Absolutely bizarre. So why didn't the police find him earlier? Good point, Richard. Yes, I agree with you. That didn't make sense at all. Brilliant messages. Really deep and meaningful messages, people, to this case. Hi, Marvin. I'm sorry to say that, but the body in the car covered in, which looks like a white tape, could be Brad in the back seat of the car. I agree, because Brad's a bit stockier, and he found out that Jay's body was in the boot, and he said he needed the toilet. That's why he disappeared for 4 hours. Did he think he would end up the same way? Who knows? Yeah, possibly. I think when money was just, they wanted money for exchange. The longer it went on, the more the price went up at the end of the day. But I think they wanted to take someone, but someone messaged me a really, really good message, and it does make a lot of sense in this case. It's simple, but it's effective as well. Interesting theory, says Pauline. Nice to hear from you, Pauline. Annette, Izzy Stevenson, been with me a while now. Thank you very much. Pauline Smith as well. Caroline. Richard, thank you. John, great messages and great support. Keep your messages coming. John Smith, brilliant. Bulldog Dunks, thank you for your support. Great channel as well. Lindsay, full member, thank you. Really support you. Thank you. And thank you for your support to the channel. North Wessie Girl, thank you very much. Audrey, Ishi, be with me now. Thank you, darling. The FYO, Joe Jones, Who's Who, MySpace Tube, thank you very much. Joe Jones again, great input to the channel. Appreciate you. MySpace Tube as well. Thank you. Tina Guna Girl, great messages, straight to the point. I love it. Sweetie, Mike Jakes, great support. Who's Who, Jeremy, brilliant people here. Liz Arker, Paulie Smith, PJM, Thank you all. Appreciate you. All the private messages coming up next, people. Thank you. Welcome back to the Streamline private messages. And this private message just says, I showed this to my friend about the call log on Jay's phone that Debbie was looking into on the documentary. And she said, it's only Lucy's messages that show on the screen. It must mean that if there was any messages sent back to her off Jay, they have been deleted by him or whoever had his phone, which is odd. Surely the Guardia Civil or the British police would have picked that up, but no conversation to the coroner about that or asking questions to the witnesses. I always said that I believe that someone else had Jay's phone, and they didn't basically want people to locate whose phones were actually ringing in or not. Maybe some of these people didn't even know Jay had passed and were just checking up whether that plan had actually gone through, that Jay had passed, and get the word out there. That was probably all the phone calls. Or technically, there was so much going on. Who had Jay's phone at that time? Yes, we do think it was probably one of Lucy, Ayub, maybe Brad and Brandon having it at some time. I do think it was, the story was made up by Lucy and Ayub. And if you basically push comes to shove, I'd probably say Lucy was basically making sure she was in the areas as though Jay was there. That's what I personally think anyway, because like I said, there's just no way Jay had his phone at that time. It is just bizarre. It really, really is bizarre, because like I said, we know that there was a lot going on. Let's move on. So interesting theory there, and I'm going to go back to the early parts of this case. So a lot of people from, I believe, the Lancashire area were contacting me in the early days and said, look, this has something to do with Brandon, why Jay was taken. And I couldn't understand how. What I was, I was told a few different stories that basically Brandon took a brick on Tick. Jay was with him. They got into a few altercations in the UK, and then it carried on in Tenerife. And then I thought, yeah, that's a massive possibility as well. And it's so easy for these youngsters to get in debt. I completely understand that. The other thing is, I also think that Lucy was at one stage seeing Tom Hilton and had been on holiday. I think it was March 2024, where a lot of people think that things were planned against Jay as well. I do think that Lucy was possibly seeing Jay, and Jay had, or maybe not seen each other, but Jay had a soft spot for her, and Lucy was leading him on to basically to get him to Tenerife and get him to trust her. Seen as basically they met at festivals before in the UK, and I think Jay trusted her, and that was the only reason she went. I think when things were getting on top, and we saw that picture of Lucy talking to Jay, they both looked really, really serious. I think Jay was probably didn't believe what was actually going to happen to him, or wasn't worried, or thought his mates would actually protect him. And one of the reasons I say that, because like I said, he stayed, he was having fun. I think he was getting spiked. The others looked worried. The others looked as though they didn't want to be there. And don't forget, Lucy, in one of her first statements, said that she'd basically left to go home early, fell asleep, and then she got all these messages and phone call in the morning about Jay. But we know that she was on the strip waiting for this to play out. I personally think, do you remember the message where she says, Mum, it's all my fault at the end of the day? What it was, I think, I got a feeling that Lucy and Brandon were basically dealing for someone. This is what I think. And obviously pocketing a lot of money themselves. And this private messenger came up with something that I didn't think of before, but it's just so simple. Listen to this. I got told Lucy and Brandon were in debt with Ruggs and got their debt cleared up if they hand over Jay to Tom H, as Lucy was seeing him at the same time. So it makes sense. So basically, this person is actually saying that Lucy was seeing Jay. They were seeing each other, and Tom Hilton as well. So I knew there was maybe some kind of jealousy factor as well, that they were possibly seeing the same girl. So it would be easier for Lucy to basically set up Jay. And I do think that Brandon, Brad, and Jay and Lucy were all scared of Tom Hilton. And don't forget, his friends were out there as well. So that would make a sense to me if that, like I said, Brandon ran up a debt at the end of the day. It was said that he ran up a debt in the UK and he owed money for a break, and Jay was with him, and there was a little scuffle, and then it went to Tenerife. So basically, for this debt to be cleared, or they could be taken, beaten, or probably thrown off a mountain at the end of the day for basically robbing rug dealers in Tenerife. That's the worstest thing you can do. This would make sense. Get their debt cleared if they hand over Jay to Tom H, as Lucy was seeing him at the same time. So it makes sense. Let me know what you think, people. I thought it was very, very, very interesting theory. And that's a theory for me that's got a lot of weight. Let me know your thoughts, people. We're going to move on to the final part. It was little Miss Vodka who was actually talking to Brad some months ago. And the message from little Miss Vodka said, Jay left scared, and you said in your interview that he was laughing on the phone, and you wonder why people speculate, because it doesn't seem right. How you know he was scared, said Brad. The investigator said it yesterday in his statement. How does he know? He came over for 3 days and left. Just another guy acting like he's helping. Interesting. Very, very defensive, I thought there, to be honest with you. So it sounds like to me the investigator MWT did talk to Brad. But like I said, we didn't really hear his interview. Or did he talk with Brad? That's the thing. I would have thought so. But it was funny that MWT didn't release the audio interview, because we know he talked to Brandon. We know he talked to Ayub. And we know we talked to Lucy as well, because that audio is already out there. But did he talk with Brad? Or at first I thought so. And then something comes to my mind. His mum, Rachel, because he already came out to the media and said he was pie, and he said this little bit about Jay, which didn't make any sense to anybody. His mum, Rachel, wouldn't want him talking to MWT. And don't forget, his mum, Rachel, said that they don't know who the men are that went to the Airbnb, and we've got to find out who they were. So some of the early stuff, they've forgotten they actually said it, which makes sense to us, but it doesn't to them at the end of the day, because we know that there were a lot of lies and cover-ups as these stories materialized as the months goes on, adding bits to it to make it sound more structural to get away with what they got away with. Let me know what you think, people. Interesting messages. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment, and we march on. Thank you.